We had a crew up in CSESH for a community meeting tonight, and because of all of this fire activity, this is their video tonight, they were told that it wasn't safe to head out. But Misty Inglet is on her way back. She's made it to McCall. She's there live now. Misty, you were so close to that fire tonight.
Oh, unbelievably close, Kim. It was quite the adventure tonight, and it's really a prime example of how fast the weather and the fire conditions are changing out there. That's really what led to us kind of being stuck on that road and not being able to head back tonight, is how quickly things are changing there. Let's take a look at some more video of the fire that we shot while we were there, and I'll kind of walk you through what happened today. Fire activity really picked up this afternoon, and it took off because of the hot temperatures and the winds. It really spurred that fire activity, and it spotted, meaning it kind of started a little subfire on Burgdorf French Creek Road, and that quickly grew to 100 acres of just that spot fire alone, burning along both sides of that road, which forced them to close that one. As a precaution, they had closed off part of Warren Wagon Road, and so we had to be escorted into CSESH to that meeting just as a precaution to make sure that we were all being safe. And on the way in, the road was perfectly fine. You could see the fire, but it was nowhere near the actual roadways. We went to the meeting at CSESH, and then on the way out around 7:20 or so, coming off of Warren Wagon Road, we just ran into a roadblock of fire. The flames were right up against the edge of the road. It was so close I could have just leaned over or stepped out of the car and touched it. Flames were on some parts, they were above the trees, they were tall, it was super hot. We were in just a shower of embers, and we were right in the midst of some of those firefighters. We could hear the hotshot crews communicating with each other, yelling orders to protect the lines and get the lines back up, and there was just so much smoke. Now, part of that is because they were doing some burnouts, and the crews had started a couple of smaller fires there to try and backburn some of that fire, and so that's part of why it was burning so close to Warren Wagon Road. But because the flames were so close, we were in the midst of the firefighters there, and so much smoke, it just wasn't safe for us to continue on that road, so they had us turn around and go back to CSESH. We waited about an hour and a half there, and then we were able to get through. The firefighters had to escort us for a little ways. We put on the hazard lights because it was so smoky, and they let us come through just very, very slowly, very cautiously. And we're finally able to get to McCall just a few minutes ago. And again, just really smoky, tall flames. It's quite the fire. Their priority is to really keep it from jumping Warren Wagon Road any further. Also, they want to protect that ranger station there in Burgdorf and Burgdorf Hot Springs. And now, while we were on our way out on that road, we actually bumped into Scott Harris, who owns Burgdorf Hot Springs. He was hanging out there waiting to see if he might be able to get into Burgdorf at all to check on that property. And we asked him what he thinks of everything going on and the fire getting closer and closer. And here's what he had to say about it.
Fortunately, the wind has held until yesterday, and so the wind shifted and this blew up yesterday evening. We were hopeful that it would pass Burgdorf, but we're still hopeful.
Yeah, and the winds, I saw those firsthand, picking up. It sparked the flames. We'd watch the scooper planes come in and drop some water on some of those flames. They'd go out, and then a couple minutes later, right next to it, another one would shoot up. So they definitely have their hands full there. Now, as for CSESH, of course, that's where they sent us back to when we couldn't get out. It's still several miles from the fire at this point, so there are no plans to evacuate CSESH or any other towns at this point. They're keeping it pretty well down towards the Burgdorf area, and again, using that Warren Wagon Road is kind of their staple, trying not to let it jump across that. So the Warren Wagon Road, the ranger station, Burgdorf Hot Springs, their priorities tonight. Around midnight, they're going to be doing some infrared mapping to get a better look at the fire, better idea of the best way to attack it come tomorrow. But for now, with all of the activity today, their best bet was to just kind of hang back, let it do its thing. And again, that's where we kind of got stuck in the road, is things just moving so quickly, and they're doing all they can out there to just keep it from spreading even further. So you can see by the video, the flames, everything there. They've definitely got their hands full out there, and I can attest to that firsthand. Kim, I'll send it back to you.
Misty, it's just incredible. In your video, you and your photographer, it just shows you how quickly these fires can grow and change their behavior. So I just want to make sure, so you were allowed obviously into CSESH because that's where the community meeting was being held. And during that time, that's when this all just kind of erupted, the fire activity?
Yeah, exactly. We were at CSESH probably a little over an hour. We got in there a little early, to try and get a handle on things, grab some video, talk to some people, get some information. So we were there for probably about an hour. And just in an hour, a little over that, it went from nowhere near the road to right up against that road when we came back through. And when we left CSESH, the Payette National Forest crews, the incident management team was there as well. And we asked, are we okay to head out early and just leave? And they said, yep, you should be fine. We get a couple miles down from CSESH and there's just flames right next to the road there. In fact, the firefighters were so busy that they kind of just ignored us there until we were right in the thick of things. It was spreading, the wind was blowing, embers were going everywhere, and they said, you guys got to turn around and go back. And they just definitely had their hands full. So that quick, in I'd say an hour from when we went into CSESH from when we came out.
Were there other community members kind of in your same situation, Misty?
There were a few kind of hanging out partway along the road. They weren't down as far as we were, of course, because we were trying to head out towards McCall. There were a couple like Scott Harris that were kind of hanging out there trying to figure out which direction they could go. Some of them really were wanting to try and get into Burgdorf to see what was happening there, see if they could check on anything. So they were just kind of waiting to see if they could get that under control. And there were a couple that were trying to get to CSESH, weren't sure if they could go forward. And so it was just kind of this, it blew up quickly and nobody was really sure. So there were a couple of people on the road along with us.
It's just incredible.